I'm Mick, and this is Sally. In our videos, we hope to showcase what Australia has to offer. You can follow us on our adventures via the following social media platforms. If you like the video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. For our 2-night getaway on this trip in the caravan, we decided that we'd go and try the Lakeside Camping Ground. Now this one's been on the bucket list for some time, but for various reasons I guess we've never made it there, but this weekend was going to see that one ticked off. So to get there we went out through Gawler and up to Williamstown and across through to Palmer and so on, and then finally down to Manum before we made our way across to Caurnamont. There is a bit of a hill descent as you go down into Palmer, but with the caravan on, as long as you take your time and don't rush it and burn your brakes on the way down, it's a no issue really. Once we got to Manum, it was a simple matter of driving through the main street and following the street out past the ferry here and the caravan park, and then it was an easy drive from here to Caurnamont. And this drive will take you for the best part of the way along the River Murray itself, so it's quite a scenic drive. When we start to pull away from the River Murray itself, it's on this uphill drive here that you come up onto the flats, and from here we followed the flats until we got to Caurnamont, and then we did the reverse. We dropped down off the flat down the hill and down to the lower level of the river. Once you get down to the entrance of Caurnamont, there's a dirt road to the right, and that'll take you up to the camping ground. It's not a long drive, it's an easy drive. The road was in good condition when we went out there. The entrance to the campground is to the left of the road as you're taking that you go out there, and you've got to remember that this gate entry here down to the campground is actually there before you reach the manager's house, so you need to get into that gate or pull up at that gate before you go past it. Yeah, g'day everyone. Sally and I are at the Lakeside Campground here at Caurnamont. First time we've been here, and certainly some well manicured lawn area to put the van or the tent or whatever you might be here on. So here for 2 nights. It's Saturday afternoon. We've been here for an hour and a half probably now, so it's quite a pleasant run up. So yes, 2 nights, and hopefully we'll get some nice weather. The campground is privately owned, and the way that it's set out to try and have the best interest of all patrons and users at heart as people pull up and set up. Now what they do, they try and put all the biggish units like caravans and so on to the side of the lawned area, and that way when people are at the middle of the camp area, for example, they can still look down and see the water without having the view blocked by a large caravan or motorhome or whatever it might be. When we first read the rules that were sent to the telephone as a text message, I was a little bit, I don't know, unsure, I suppose, as to whether we actually done the right thing coming here, because the rules seem to be a little bit laid out fairly strong. But when the lady come down and seen us when she got back to collect the site fees and so on, and once she explained it and how everything was set out and being done to try and maximise the use of the lawned area for all the campers there as a whole, rather than some get the bigger benefit and others miss out, it's quite easy to understand why the rules are there and why they're in place. And if everyone was to follow the rules, there's nothing hard about it, and it should give everyone a great time. The water out in front of the campground isn't the main river channel, so it's actually a backwater. Now, this here will obviously add to the peace and quietness of the place, because you haven't got speedboats and that sort of thing ripping up and down here, disturbing everyone. Not that I'm against speedboats, don't get me wrong, but the peace and tranquility of this campground, there's not much else like it. As the drone flies over the waterway now, you'll see up at the top part of the water there, the channel coming down, and that's the fawny colour one. That's the main river channel itself, so it's quite some distance from the campground. With the unseasonal weather that we're having for this time of the year, it was a warm day, the sun was shining, there was no wind, and it just made for sitting around these waterways here absolutely pleasant. Saturday afternoon with such calm waters, the cloud reflections on the water certainly gave us something to watch as we slowly moved into the sunset. Sunday morning started off very similar to the way that Saturday evening finished off. There was no wind, very calm waters, and the water reflections just left you in awe. As we were sitting outside the caravan with such a beautiful day, we heard the Murray Princess coming up the river, so we hightailed it to the Caurnamont boat ramp, and we thought we might be able to capture it on film there as it sailed up the river. And whilst we were waiting, we sort of started to wonder where it was. We knew it would come over the ferry because we heard it blast its horn to signal that it was coming through. And well, we were waiting and waiting, and it just never arrived. So on that, we thought we'd jump in the car and go down to the ferry and see exactly where it was. Without doubt, people certainly put some effort into their shacks along here. We're actually driving down the road to the ferry at the moment, And we're going past the rear of the shacks, so this is the back of them, not the front. When we were nearly back to the ferry, as we looked out to the left in towards the river, there was the Murray Princess just sitting there and doing nothing. And it was a bit of a puzzle as to work out exactly what was going on, because the paddle wheel wasn't turning and there was no noise coming from it. And later on in the day we found out that as the ferry, well, I don't know what happened with the ferry, but as the Princess come over the ferry cables, somehow or another the paddle wheel got tangled up in the ferry cable, so that's put the ferry out of action for over 24 hours as it turned out. Well, that's what the indicator was at the time, and it stopped the Murray Princess in its tracks. Once all the mechanical and safety features were checked on the Murray Princess, they fired it up and they slowly started to make their way up the river again. The lush green lawns that grow between the river water and these shacks along the river, they must definitely give you that feeling of coolness in the summer months, that's for sure. With the Murray Princess now making its way upstream once again, we scurried back to the Caurnamont boat ramp and set ourselves up to hopefully get some filming of it. Now, we're not quite sure what happened after we left this area here. The Murray Princess proceeded to go upstream, which it normally would. But we're not sure whether it actually turned around because of the damage that may have been sustained to the boat when it got tangled up with the ferry cables, or whether that's as far as what the cruise went this time, because once it went past here we went back to the caravan and enjoyed our time there, and we heard the horn blasting as it was going through Caurnamont again, so we're not quite sure whether it turned around intentionally or whether it had to turn around because of damage. It was now Sunday morning, and all the campers that were here when we arrived yesterday, they've all packed up and gone home, so the only ones on the campground at the moment are Sally and I. So with such a lovely day, it was just time to sit back and enjoy the peaceful surroundings that we found ourselves in. Earlier on I mentioned about caravans being to the side of the lawned area. When I say the side, they're still on the lawn, but they're on the side, so it doesn't block the view. And when you look where we are now, we're actually blocking the view of people that were camped up where I'm standing at the moment. And that was something that we didn't know, because when we came down to the campground, we had to find our spot by the tree that had the tap on it, and that's where we were, but we didn't know that we couldn't go on, as you're looking at the picture there now, to the left of that tree that's in front of the car and the caravan. But never mind, we didn't know, so we got away with it. But yeah, so that'd all be open to view there, and with everything that was high, caravans, motorhomes, anything like that, all be to the side so people weren't trying to look through. One of the campground rules were that any gas barbecue bottles had to be used on the dirt, and they were not to be used sitting on the lawn. The reason for this being apparently that as you draw gas out of the bottle, it freezes the bottom of the bottle, and that burns a ring on the lawn. Now, we'd never heard of this before, and I'm not going to argue it, but every time we used ours, we felt the ring on the bottom, and it was no more than ambient temperature. But that is one of the rules for the campground. No gas bottles on the lawn when they're being used. I should also add to that if you've got a gas bottle on a lawned area that you want to use the bottle, as long as you've got it sitting on something that insulates it from the lawn, you can use it in that position, but the bottle must not sit directly on the lawn. One thing about sitting around in such beautiful weather, it gave us the opportunity to do a bit of brainstorming for an up and coming houseboat holiday that we've got on the River Murray. Time to get the fire going so we could build up a few coals, because we were going to have potatoes cooked in our jackets around coals tonight for our evening meal, so we needed the coals for the cooking of the potatoes. Once we got the fire going well enough, it was time to put the billy on and boil some water for a cup of tea. Billy tea certainly got a taste of its own. It's very nice. When you've only got a small fire pit and burning small amount of wood, very, very hard to get enough coals going to enable you to cook potatoes wrapped in foil on a coal fire. But we managed to get enough coals. It took a while to get there, but we got there in the end. Once we got all the potatoes in the right position, it was just a matter of re-stoking the fires, being as we nearly killed it trying to get the coals, and sit back and just enjoy the fire while the potatoes cooked in their coal there. Once our spuds were cooked and we'd eaten our lovely evening meal, it was time to sit back by the fire and enjoy another sunset. The drone didn't pick it up as well as what I had hoped, but the hills in the background there, they were very pretty to look at on that night. They were a real rich golden brown colour, and with the sun on them it just highlighted them, so very pretty to look at. The saddest part of any trip, the morning of the day that you're going home. Well, our time at the Lakeside Campground's about come to an end. Been 2 great nights, and weather's been magic. Yesterday, we had sunshine all the time. It was quite warm out in the sun, but a bit of shade on the face, and yeah, great out there. So I hope you enjoyed this one. It's only a short one, but it's a campground that no facilities here other than a shower and a toilet. There's no deli, no shop close by, so you've got to make your own entertainment. So until the next video, take care and look after yourself. If you like the video that you just watched, give us a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of our videos, hit the subscribe button. And once you've done that, tap on the bell and change the notification to all. That way every time we do uploads to our YouTube channel, you'll be notified.